Okay, so this video was a long time in the making, but I finally managed to put it together. It will be covering my thoughts so far using the D.Va Razer Abyssus Elite mouse and D.Va Razer Goliathus mousepad that I purchased in November last year. So let's start with the software side of things. I read a lot about Razer's Synapse online and downloaded plus set it up with the mouse. The initial setup is easy if you just create a Razer account and sign in. Once you're in Synapse, there are some settings to customize the mouse's sensitivity, lights, calibration, and also activate Razer Hypershift. Now, Hypershift sounded great to me in principle. It would essentially allow you to bind more hotkeys or even macros to your mouse once you activated it. What I found in essence was that I never get to use it properly with an Abyssus, which I'll explain why a little bit further into the video. To put the mouse and mousepad through its paces, I decided to play a few rounds of Heroes of the Storm, a MOBA, Overwatch, an FPS, and PubG, a Battle Royale, which are the three games I've been playing most recently. To kick things off, let's start with PubG. Most of my key bindings on PubG are through the keyboard. I feel like sometimes when I'm trying to take some fights in PubG, I run out of space on the mousepad, as this mousepad is medium sized, but not a huge FPS mousepad that really helps, especially when your sensitivity is low and you need to make sweeping arm movements. The mouse is very responsive to clicks, which helps with single tap shooting, and the mouse wheel as well has no input delay, so swapping between weapons is seamless. Overall, it's quite easy to use this setup when playing PubG. Next up is Heroes of the Storm. Similar to PubG, most of my key bindings are done on the keyboard. The mouse is primarily used to right-click or left-click targets in the game. If you've played MOBAs before, there's a terminology called stutter stepping, where you attack something, move, then attack something, and move again. It's rapid-fire clicking that this mouse handles extremely well. The mousepad surface is extremely smooth and doesn't cause any friction, which means quick, sharp actions in any direction are followed through easily. Finally, here's where it gets interesting. My playthrough with Overwatch was where I really felt there may be a downfall of the Abyssus, and this was the absence of having rebindable side mouse buttons. In Overwatch, instead of reloading, if someone is low, you can do a melee attack to finish someone off. On my old mouse, which was a Logitech G9X, I had two side customizable buttons, which for one of them I rebound my melee attack to. I had been so trained to use this to quickly finish off enemies, I really struggled when playing the game as I had to use a keyboard binding instead. Now, with Razer Hypershift, I thought I could rebind a keyboard button to then let me access my Hypershift bound actions for the mouse. This is not actually how it works. To use Hypershift, you need to have a button on the mouse be the trigger to enter your bindings in Hypershift. So, for testing purposes, I decided to have my mouse wheel click be the trigger to use Hypershift, and then have Hypershift left click be my melee keyboard binding in Overwatch. This didn't work out so well, as you can see when I'm trying to practice with D.Va. It's so awkward for me to toggle Hypershift and then actually left click to have this option come out. In my playthrough video, you can see I rarely tried to melee anyone anymore, as it's just too slow for me to get to that split-second key binding. I'd rather just wait out the reload time. So, final thoughts then after getting to use this combo for a few months. I really do like the Abyssus Elite. It's comfortable, responsive, and the mousepad itself is smooth without being too large. The drawback for me is if you're used to having a lot of configurable mouse buttons on your mouse, like say for an MMORPG, the Abyssus Elite may not be for you. Razer Synapse is not the answer to solving the lack of customizable buttons as I thought it may be, because you have to sacrifice a button on this mouse to toggle Synapse actions anyway, and this mouse already just has the basic layout going for it. Thanks for watching the video. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you purchase this mouse or mousepad in the comments below, and what games you use it for. Currently, I'm quite happy using this mouse for MOBAs, but I feel like for certain FPSs where mouse binding can be useful, say for Overwatch and Fortnite, I'll be plugging in my old G9X to play with for the time being.